Training Journal 1, Chest Day, and further exposition on the qualities required in a Christian general, from the Taktika of Emperor Leo VI. Let the general be discreet, and not so dragged down by physical pleasures that he neglects to attend to necessary matters and shows no concern about them. As a man entrusted with such great authority, he will exercise self-control. Unrestrained and licentious impulses, when combined with the power and ability to do whatever one wants, become uncontrollable in seeking gratification. Let him be sober and vigilant, so that he may remain alert when dealing with truly important projects. It is often at night, when the soul is more at rest, that the plans of the general assume their final, definitive shape.
So, for the 5 million subscribers, this is Jonah from my parish, and he's a very humble man.
Not really.
You can see by his response. And Jonah and I have started training together because I lack the motivation to train by myself. So Jonah is helping me with that. And
I'm the same though. I lack motivation. So going in with a person just means going to get it done.
Exactly. And
no excuses when you've got another person there. Really.
Well, exactly. And so I was just wondering if you could tell the same story you told me about where you were pre-Orthodoxy and then how you came to the Orthodox Church.
Well, I was raised in England, so like you have very, very broad but vague Christian upbringing where you might do Lord's Prayer or hymns and stuff in primary school, but nothing heavy-handed or anything like that. And then my parents are both Christian, but they didn't want to be heavy-handed either, so they decided not to baptise me and let me make that decision, which unfortunately is really common in kind of today's era. But so my upbringing was kind of loosely Christian, but I considered myself one, but I didn't really pray or know how to go to church, or hadn't really spoke to a priest or anything like that. Never had pastoral advice. I certainly wouldn't go for confession, or wasn't even considering baptism or anything like that. And then typical teenager, ended up becoming an atheist, left-wing, socialist, communist, whatever the worst possible thing is. Maybe even potential Satanist, maybe not in a theological sense because I didn't necessarily believe, but I was definitely in the more negative-minded religion where I just didn't consider religion at all. If you're religious, you must be making up for some kind of weakness or some kind of stupidity, so push it aside, don't even have to listen to you, was kind of my opinion, which is very common, unfortunately. And I ended up getting really, really into philosophy through a family member, and they had studied in Lambeth in Wales, and I ended up just going to an open day and deciding to come down and do philosophy. I got 2-3 years in. I had a really good friend from Wolverhampton who was really into Byzantine history. So he was, I can't remember which era, but he was doing his dissertation on a very specific part of Byzantine history, like the 9th or 10th century. And he was talking about that to me all the time, constantly, because I'm really interested in Roman history and stuff like that. And I remember just saying to him, it's a shame that the Eastern Roman Empire, doesn't exist anymore. And then he said, well, there's a priest in town who would disagree with you. And he's also a Welshman, because I assumed he'd be Romanian or something. Maybe not the most PC thought I've ever had, but but I instantly thought Russian, Romanian, or Polish or something
Serbian,
like that. Yeah, basically. So I just got into contact with Father Tim, and I went to a Vesper service and was talking to him about Roman history and Byzantine history. I wasn't necessarily there to become a Christian or even talk about Christianity, but I was talking about Timothy Ware's book on, the Orthodox Church, which is, a lot of that is just the history of the Byzantine Empire, and talking more in that sense than religious. And I was just saying, I've never prayed before, I've never really been to a church, I don't know what etiquette is. For example, he put his hand forward, I shook his hand, and he said, no, you kiss it. And then I kissed the hand. I didn't really know why I did it, but I just did it anyway. Well, in general, if someone asked me to kiss a hand, I'd get lost. Especially a bloke. And I just was really comfortable with him. And I just asked him, I just kept going to Vespers. He kept saying, you come and you don't have to be seen, you can just watch, or if you want to come into the kitchen, or if you want to talk to people, or if you want to get involved, you can, but you do what you're comfortable with. So I went to quite a lot of Vesper service, started like speaking to people, and I just said to Father Tim, can you teach me how to pray? Can you teach me how to be a Christian? I intellectually know what it means to be a Christian. And obviously I've done philosophy, so you study Christianity and Christian thought, like St. Anselm and the ontological argument, all those really heavy intellectual parts of Christianity. And I was just saying to him, I'm sick of trying to figure things out for myself. Like, you have 2,000 years of saints and these people who have been blessed by God to know things that I couldn't possibly know. And I can't figure things out myself, and doing philosophy isn't saving me or helping me. And can you just teach me how to pray? Can you bring me into the church? I don't know how to talk to you. I don't know what etiquette is in the church. I don't know how to talk to other Christians. I don't know anything. Like, start me from scratch. And he said that's fantastic, because you don't have any preconceived notions other than religion is stupid. Which is quite a bad one, but I didn't have, I wasn't Anglican or Catholic. I didn't have things I had to unlearn and come back into. So I just started going to church. I went to Divine Liturgy after a few Vespers and was completely blown away. I was mostly uncomfortable, to be honest. It was so overpowering and overwhelming that I didn't really know what was going on. But whatever it was, I wasn't necessarily comfortable or enjoyed it, but I wanted to come back. It was almost like a struggle, a bit like exercise, where you still come back and do it again, but it's not necessarily pleasurable. And there was something agonising there that I needed to take part in it. I needed to be a part of a community, and I felt something there that I'd never felt before. I'd prayed as like a child and never felt a voice or presence or anything at all. I'd only ever felt myself. And when I was in the church during Divine Liturgy and thinking about things, I didn't feel alone at all. And I remember Father Tim saying, I said, what did it feel like when you were ordained? And he said, oh, it's wonderful. It's like I've never been alone ever again. I'm always with someone, like, even if I'm by myself, because I've been ordained, there's always someone with me. I've never been lonely. I'm always with someone. And that's very much the feeling I had when I came to the church, and the rest is history, really. My girlfriend at the time, we weren't thinking of marriage or anything like that. We weren't even necessarily taking our relationship particularly seriously. Or we thought that we were, but only in secular terms were we. And she was going to an Anglican church and started getting interested in that. She came to like a Divine Liturgy, was completely blown away, and she never went back to any other church. We ended up getting baptised and chrismated and received for the first time, and there's never been a single shred of doubt since that. I've never thought of going anywhere else. I don't want to go anywhere else. There's no, people have said, have you ever, when you have struggles or doubts, or you struggle to pray and stuff like that, it's just, for some reason for us, since being baptised and being in the Orthodox Church, it's been completely organic and smooth. There's been no like hiccups of faith. I've never.
That's amazing.
When things go, the worse things get, the more devout and religious we seem to become.
Yeah.
It's like, I have to go to church. I'm upset about this thing.
Yeah.
And Martha's the same. If she doesn't feel well, or she's upset, or she doesn't want to go to church, she forces herself to go, and she always feels better after.
Yeah.
I've got back from work and said, I'm not going in, I'm too tired. And she's just went by herself and came back with some bread for me, and it's like, I should have went.
Yeah.
She has that natural like devoutness that I sometimes have to struggle a little bit with. Well, like I have to push myself. Yeah. But it's never been a faith thing. It's never been that I've had doubts and not gone to church, or been struggling and had to come to Father Tim. My struggles have always been me, in the sense of I'm the problem. It's not coming to Christ. It's reminding myself that no matter what I've done, I have to go to him, because he's the one I have to go to. And it's like when you do confession, you're picked up after. You don't feel weak, you feel strong. It's the complete opposite. And before, as a Christian, I'd think doing confession was pathetic or weak, and you'd get picked up and feel all feeble and sinful, and it's not how it feels after confession. You get picked up and you feel like a man. You feel like you're going forward and being strong, 100%. And I'm going to bring the gospel out, kind of thing.
Well, exactly, because I think there's like that fear of weakness, and then there's also like obviously just some people. Like, I know I just felt like there would just be too much sheer embarrassment, and shame to be able to actually do that, And then, like you say, complete opposite.
You do it and you just stand up like a man.
Yeah.
So, okay, this is very unique. I've never felt that with anything else before as well. I can have great conversations with family members or uplifting moments with friends, but it never compares. They're all meaningless compared to that. And that's not to say that friendship and family isn't a huge thing, because it is. But when you compare it into those things in the context of Christ, like having an Orthodox Christian friend rather than just a friend, there's just a level of depth there that you just don't get anywhere else. And it's it's actually quite hurtful in the sense of, I remember I met Michael for the first time, who became my godfather, and he was so open and loving with me that I felt uncomfortable, and I found it really difficult to accept. And it upset me that someone could love me so openly, and I was like, well, I don't deserve it. And then you get baptized, you're like, I still don't deserve it, but I accept it. And I was almost paranoid or suspicious that he wanted something from me, when he was just being loving. And that's really difficult and hard and painful to accept when you've been raised in a kind of secular nation where that just isn't a thing. Some people don't do that unless you're in a relationship with them, and even then you might throw the relationship away because things are going wrong. And it's like with me and Martha, if things go wrong, we get tighter, not looser. It's not how it works at all. And when things are difficult in the church, we all come together and become absolutely locked in. And support through stuff that we've been going through is just, without it, I don't know how we would have survived. And we always say to each other, thank God we're Orthodox Christians. I don't know how I would deal with pretty much anything at the moment. It's absolutely amazing.
Well, that should be the slogan. Thank God we're Orthodox.
It's quite a nice one,
Oh well, and obviously, just from my end, that's it's really good to train with you. So thank you, Jonah.
No, thank you, Ian.
Thanks, man.
You gotta come in for the manly hug. Can't just shake my hand.